Hey everyone, I've been pretty busy lately with real-life responsibilities along with working on larger videos like the Kingdom Hearts video I wanted to do, the Hitman 2 Silent Assassin retrospective, the So You Want to Get Into Devil May Cry video that is going up before the release of DMC5. I might do an impressions on the next demo for DMC5 if there's enough differences with the last one, and I have another video I've yet to announce, so I thought it'd be cool to just do a little roundup recommendation video for games I've wanted to talk about for a while but don't have enough to say about them exclusively to have their own videos. This is just a video to hold you guys over. I might do another one of these for a couple anime recommendations or manga recommendations for things I've been watching or reading lately. I actually did record one for a manga recommendation roundup a while back, but a lot of the manga then got axed, so I felt like I shouldn't recommend all of them because they had half-baked endings, so I'd have to go back and redo that. But anyways, I hope you guys do enjoy this video and look forward to my future content that is in the pipeline. I was surprised how much I liked Celeste. Usually I don't really enjoy platformers all too much, especially with a lot of the level design that this game has. In a lot of other games, its level design have irked me to no end to the point where I would have just dropped it. Like for example, I really hate platformers where the platforms are either slippery from ice or there's inclement weather like wind that blows the character that messes with your trajectory of your jumps. That shit drives me fucking insane. I hate it so much. I think it's the dash that makes a lot of level design choices that I absolutely despise tolerable for me. It's just so much fun. I love dashing. I knew next to nothing before I purchased this game. Like, I didn't even know there was a story because all the gameplay I ever saw in the backgrounds of videos of people talking over it was just the dashing around platforming. I only found out that it had a story because I was watching the Giant Bomb Game of the Year podcast and they brought it up and I was like, wait, this game has a story? What? I never even saw anything about it. No one ever brought up a story, but I think that's more in line that I didn't watch any videos deeply going into it because I A, had no interest, and B, if I was going to play it, I didn't want to know anything about it, but I was pleasantly surprised how much I actually liked the story and the characters. There was some really charming writing in a few places, like I loved the introduction of Theo, where he's like, I'm coming from a far-off land of mysticism. Seattle. Music is also really good. In a land of oversaturated pixel indie games, I think this one stands out among the rest, and is absolutely worth your time. If I had to leave the game with any critique instead of just glowingly sucking its dick, I would say that sometimes the controls aren't as responsive as they need to be. Quite a few times I died because the directional input just didn't read correctly, and I got shot right into spikes or a bottomless pit, but that might just be my controller. It's a little hard to tell because I did try two different ones, and I still had the same issue. So who knows? But the game has unlimited lives and it checkpoints you at the start of every single room, so it's not like you're losing that much progress. And you respawn almost instantly, so it feels like Hotline Miami style of just fuck up and restart. This is the best Silent Hill game to come out in years. Seriously though, this is probably one of my favorite horror games in recent memory. I've just kind of accepted that most horror games just aren't for me anymore because I prefer more slow burning build up to horror that's more subtle and less explosively annoying and obnoxious in your face, a la Outlast 2 and every other bastard clone of it since Amnesia has come out, and everything just trying to ape PT's success but fundamentally missing why PT worked. It's honestly such a breath of fresh air just to feel a game that doesn't feel like I'm waiting for the next jump scare and then I have to run away from the monster and hide in a thing. I don't even think there's anything wrong with having games like that, but seriously, every horror game I could think of that's come out recently has been that. Too much of one thing leads to you getting sick of it. I love fettuccine alfredo, but I wouldn't want to fucking eat it 3 times a day every day. Just like I wouldn't want to play games that are trying to be the same exact thing over and over and over again. I don't find this game scary, but I don't find most horror games scary, so that's not a diss to this. I was more intrigued than scared because the premise of this game is very interesting and I've not seen anything like it. This game's story is really difficult to talk about without spoiling pretty much everything, hence why this doesn't have its own video when it's in one of these smaller roundup ones where I could talk about multiple games, requiring me not to go as in-depth as I would in a video where this is its sole focus. So I'm just going to give you the base outline, and if this sounds interesting enough, I absolutely recommend playing this. Detention takes place in 1960s martial law controlled Taiwan, so you can imagine how paranoid everybody is and how scared everybody is because of communism, and everybody's just like, oh, are they communists? And everything is super censored. So this game really conveys the feeling that these people had during this time period by having such an oppressive atmosphere where you start to really feel the characters' paranoia as you're reading through their diary entries and having everybody just turn on one one another. Also, having all the monsters be based on Taiwanese mythology is really cool because I can't really think of many things that are based on those that I'm aware of that I've seen myself. So reading entries about, oh, this is this monster that picks up people and carries a lamp around, so you have to not look at it or it whisks you away. I'm like, that's fucking cool. I haven't seen something like that. I adore the art style to this game, and I don't know if you can consider this a point and click because you can move the character, but you interact with everything by clicking on the environment, so it's like a side scroller and a point and click. But I say that anyone who is interested in horror, and especially Silent Hill style horror, should check this game out. I gotta shill Yakuza Team somehow, and I'd much rather save the Yakuza games for their own separate set of videos, so let's talk about their other projects. Binary Domain, a sci-fi squad-based third-person shooter in a post-apocalyptic world where most of it has been flooded due to global warming, so in order to survive, civilizations have built upwards, using the help of the newly invented robots. The creation of replicants, or AI that can pass as humans, is banned in this universe thanks to the new Geneva Convention. These replicants are referred to as hollow children because they do not even realize that they are robots themselves and can completely pass as a human being. After these hollow children start propping up everywhere, the cast is sent to Japan to find who they believe to have been able to create such advanced AI. On the surface, this game looks like a generic cover-based third-person shooter, but it still has the great Yakuza Team writing charm to it. The cast is great and they play off each other incredibly well. Surprisingly, they actually have some big-name voice actors like Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, and Troy Baker. Shooting at the robots also has a nice crunch to it because it's similar to Dead Space's fighting mechanic of having to shoot limbs rather than just aim for torsos or heads, because you have to break off body parts and you just see all the robots explode into a million little pieces of scrap everywhere. If you're playing on PC, I definitely recommend using a controller because the keyboard and mouse controls are kind of finicky at times. And turn off your mic in the settings before launching the game because I had a bunch of problems with it because this is a squad-based shooter, so there is voice commands because this is when the Kinect was really big because it came out in 2012, but the voice recognition isn't that great to begin with, and I'm not really a fan of yelling at my computer to do moves when I could easily just push a button to tell my team to do it. It's currently $15 on Steam, but unless you're a really hardcore fan of the Yakuza devs, I would probably recommend waiting for a sale because I don't really think there's that much replay value for the game, and it's only like 8 hours long, but I really enjoyed those 8 hours I played. So it's entirely up to you whether you want to wait or not. I knew a lot of people who wrote off Nioh as just another Dark Souls clone, but honestly, if you just added a style meter, this is a fucking character action game. Okay, the first island of Nioh is pretty Souls-like. The beginning of this game is pretty slow, but once you get your bearings and you start putting levels into things and learning new techniques and moves, that's where the game really starts to open up. I love how this game has a high, mid, and low stance combat system. It adds so much variety. Plus, as a weapon I can't think any game has implemented well, which is the sickle and chain. In Nioh, you play as the first ever weeaboo, William Adams, on his quest to get his ghost waifu back and become one of the most over-exaggerated badasses in history. Right up there with Jeanne d'Arc. There's just so many little moments in this game that are absolutely perfect for me. On the first island, there's one of these optional missions you go, and it's just a one-on-one with another samurai dude in a field. This is probably one of the most fun duels I've had in any game in a while. The first time I ever went to fight him, I was so under-leveled because I completely forgot to, that I was just sitting on hundreds of thousands of souls, or Amrita as it's called in this game, that it was such a trial to actually beat him, because anytime he hit me, it was just die in one hit, and I didn't do nearly as much damage because of course I didn't have any points put into strength. It just felt like such an amazing accomplishment when I finally managed to beat him that this fight was worth the price of admission alone. Now, I like my FPSs one of two ways: slow and deliberate, or extremely fast, arcadey, and dumb. And DUSK fits the latter perfectly, taking heavy inspiration from 90s style FPSs like Doom, Quake, Duke Nukem, and so on, bringing us an excellent executed FPS that is tons of fun to play and just oozes passion through every level. I love how in the settings you could perfectly tune this game to how you want it to look, judging by how nostalgic you are feeling for this era. The only option it's missing is being able able to make it look like you're playing on a graphing calculator. I'm really glad we're entering this renaissance of classic retro 90s shooters, because I'm really sick of that middle ground where everything was trying to be a military shooter, where they're too arcadey to be slow paced, but too slow to be an arcadey shooter like Quake, so we get this really boring, stagnant middle ground. The only thing I fear is that indie devs just hop on this hype train and start making really bland and forgettable 90s FPS's homage games, because indie developers can't seem to stop just running trends into the ground, like how everything was trying to be a roguelike a few years ago and how every indie game is trying to be a Earthbound clone now. I fear that we're already getting there with PS1 graphics. Please, do not make me hate these. But that's just a side note. This game is amazing and absolutely worth it. My only complaint is I fucking hate the rat enemies.